Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everywhere you are watching us today. This is Niger Data Platform, and we are here to look at the new product or new addition that Microsoft added to the platform. And we're happy to be here. I'm full of smile. You can see my face because we are here to learn from some of our experts in the house. Oh, my name is Olajide Idowu, and I will be anchoring the session. I will just be here to bring up the moderator, to bring up the speakers that would be, I mean, exposing us to some of these functionalities in Microsoft Fabric. As you can see, this is Data Fluence 2023. And I have some speakers with us already in the house, and we'll do the introduction shortly. So if you are here, you can, oh, great, thank you. I can see Malaki, good afternoon. Yes, thank you, good afternoon. You're welcome. How are you today? I hope you are good. I hope you're doing well. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Yes. Oliver, thank you for being here. All right. Um, One of the speakers is with us already. Our keynote speaker, I wouldn't know if he's already in the studio. So people at the back end, please help me add the keynote speaker if he's here. But we'll just start right about now. I have one of the speakers already in the house here. All right. My name is Olajide Do. Once again, I have with me in the house right now Mr. Adewale Yusuf, one of the great MVPs that would expose us to Microsoft Fabrics. The focus for today is data engineering and data factory. That is what we'll explore together. And of course, Mr. Popola also is in the house, and I'm sure Mr. David Abu is going to join soon. All right. I will just move to the next slide. We want to appreciate our partners. Thank you for the support all the time. We really appreciate you. Microsoft, Nimarem, Covenant Technology, Jerry Computer, Enterprise DNA, Resolutive, and many others. We are not taking it for granted. Thank you for your support all the time. All right. I'm not sure that the speaker is with us at the moment, so I will just move to the next one. So, Mr. Hadawale is here with us. And just to let you know, he would be the first speaker opening this Data Fluence 2023. So he's an experienced BI consultant with over 5 years, of course, in providing business intelligence solution to clients across the world. He has detailed knowledge in data warehousing, data mapping, data analytics and visualization, process validation, and business need analysis, proven to, of course, understanding customer requirement and translating them into actionable project plan. Is dedicated, is hard working with passion for big data, and as a result of self-driven nature, he communicates well with both technical professionals and of course end users, and identify and translate business requirement. He builds and leads teams of talented professionals to develop valuable process. All of these and many more. Is skilled in Microsoft Excel, Power BI, SQL, Azure, Synapse. Is a Microsoft certified corporate trainer, international speaker with a deep understanding of various adult learning methodologies. Is been fantastic. Is wonderful. So, Mr. Adewale, please, we need to see your face. Please let your camera be on, and you have the floor, please. You are welcome, Mr. Adewale. Yes, your mic. You want to check your mic? We can't hear you. Please kindly check your mic. I cannot hear you. So please, Mr. Adewale, I can see you very clear, loud. I mean, very, very, very shiny. Your face is shining, but we can't hear you. People in the house, you want to confirm if you can hear him, just to be sure that I can. We can drop some comment, please, just to be sure that we can hear him. Mr. Adewale, just wave if you can hear me. Just wave if you can hear me.
I can hear you. I can hear
Oh,
you.
I
Don't know
can
if
hear
you
you
can
now.
hear
I can hear
me.
you now. Like your tone is, man, is power
Okay.
data factory.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon or good day from all over the world. Thank you for being here and thank you for the beautiful presentation, Mr. Oladeji. I think you flattered me. It's nice to be here. Let's explore fabrics together. Nice to meet you all.
You're welcome. Oh, great. They can hear you now. I can hear Mr. Dewale. Awesome. Thank you for that feedback. So, Mr. Dewale, over to you. You have the floor so that we can manage the time.
Okay, so hi everyone. Let's just dive into the fabrics. I'll be sharing my screen soon since our keynote speaker is not here. Just 1 second.
All right.
All right, great. So let me know once you can see my screen, Mr. Oladeji.
Definitely, I will let you know. So, while the screen is coming up, everyone, please the experience and is taking this session right now. If you have questions, be free to ask, drop your questions. At the end of the session, at the end of today, we would of course drop a feedback form where you can, I mean, let us know how we've done, what we can do, and all of that. Uh, just so you know, Mr. Adewale, I haven't seen your screen yet. It's
Okay,
just to
so
let you
I'm
know.
sharing now. I think my screen is at the lobby. Probably you may need to help me bring it in or something.
All right,
Uh,
just a moment. Let me, maybe I should remove this one. I can't see that the lobby at the moment.
okay, I can see it at the lobby. Can you stop sharing? Probably maybe when you stop sharing, it will come up. Okay, great.
Good.
So it's up now. It's up now.
Yes.
Okay, so hello everyone. Good day again. Um, like we know, we are all here to explore fabrics today, and we are talking about data engineering and data factory. So I was so excited personally hearing about fabric, hearing about some amazing work Microsoft is doing when it comes to this particular tool that we are exploring. I think almost everybody was so excited. So I feel today I'm going to share some of the things I've explored. You know, for us as an MVP, even before the Microsoft Fabrics come out, but Microsoft has kind of engaged us to see the future that is coming, right? So that we can be part of the future. And that future is what I'm going to introduce to you guys now. So if you are a data analyst, a data engineer, a whatever you are, right? Just know that Fabric is actually for you because Fabric is for almost everyone and all of us. So Mr. Olajide has introduced me, so I'm not going to kind of waste time introducing myself again. I'll just go ahead and continue with the session. So I'm Adiwale Yusuf. That's my picture you can see there, and that's also my face. You can see there as well. So Mr. Olajide, if you want to mute your mic, I think I'm hearing some background noise from your side. Okay, so Microsoft Fabrics is has to do with everything analytics, everything that is involved from starting your data journey up to the deployment phase, which is and also the visualization stage, right? both from data factory, Synapse data engineering, Synapse data warehousing, Synapse data science, and Synapse real-time analytics, and also Power BI. And I'm sure a lot of us have had used Power BI in a lot of time. Even some of us have used Microsoft Synapse, and you see how great that is. So Microsoft is now bringing this interesting one to us on where we can kind of manage everything together in one single place with one single database called OneLake. So OneLake can kind of manage almost everything for you. You can put all your data in OneLake. So OneLake is just like let me see the OneDrive of data. OneDrive of data. That's what OneLake is all about. So that's OneLake. So another interesting things about Synapse is that this particular OneLake can anchor all your database wherever it's sitting, or you can kind of manage different workspace. So whether you have one workspace A and you have one workspace B, in your workspace A, maybe you have some finance data or customer related data there, and your workspace B, you have some maybe some KPIs and some other data there. So OneLake kind of bring all these workspaces together using your data warehouse in there, using the lakehouse, the KQLA database, the Power BI dataset, and the like. So you can kind of manage everything there using OneLake. Now, looking at the process of how you manage this entire thing, I want you to look at this end-to-end project, and I want my people to type in the chat. So look at this end-to-end project from data source to injection to transformation to consume. I want to know the kind of audience I have. Which of these are you very familiar with? Are you familiar with injection, transform and store, and or you are just a consumer? You just consume whatever data that have been provided to you. Please let's type in chat. Let me hear from you. Type in chat. Okay, so in my comment section, I can see you do more of transformation and then you store data, or what you do mostly is an injection. Okay, great. So whatever you do, whether you do some kind of injection, whether you do, whether you're just a consumer, whether you do some, even some injection or transformation, just know Fabric is also for you. So you are familiar with almost everything. And this is the process of how you connect some from a data source. Let's say you have a structured or unstructured data. We can set up a pipeline or a data flow. Data flow is what all of us are kind of familiar with, and that's Power Query in Power BI Desktop. That's Power Query, which has been existent in Excel since over how many decades, right? So that's your data flow. You can kind of use data flow to connect to unstructured or structured data. You can as well set up a pipeline using a simple copy command and copy that particular data, whether structured or unstructured, from whatever that data is sitting, and put it directly in a lakehouse. You can put it directly in a lakehouse. So lakehouse is now like the database, or let me say the storage for Fabrics, where you can kind of put all your data set. And as well, you can use a shortcut enable. So one amazing thing I like about this particular Fabrics that Microsoft just bring to us is that you can use a shortcut enable. What shortcut enable is, let's say you have a data in another lake house. You have a data stored in another lake house. You can create a shortcut of that particular data or even a table in another lake house. And you can query that shortcut. You can ingest that shortcut from that another workspace or another lake house. You can inject it and put it in your lake house. So when you put it in your lakehouse, you can now use a notebook or data flow to transform it. Some people that don't like writing plenty code. I know some of us don't like writing code here. If you don't want to use a notebook to transform your data, data flow is always still there. In fact, SQL is even there for you to as well transform it as well. Then from there, you can use the SQL endpoint to transform it, and then you can consume it in Power BI. So that is the process for how you bring in the data and how you consume it. Now, I'm going to let us look at a particular scenario that I want to demo to us in this session. To walk through a simple scenario. So I've explained what Synapse is all about. It's all about, let me say, data analytics on an extra level. Right. So I'm going to walk you through a simple scenario. And today we are not going to get to the stage of consuming data. So because we are at the part of data factory and data engineering here, we are just going to play around with our data here and see what we can do with our data. So the scenario I'm going to paint to you is that, Let's say, for example, in an organization, you have your data on an on-premises SQL. So you have your data sitting on an on-prem. Um, what most organizations kind of want is that they want to bring their data from probably on-prem and put it on uh, cloud SQL database, and we want to kind of migrate that data to Azure SQL database. So you can kind of restore that data from your SQL management system, SQL Server management system. Then once you restore that data to Azure SQL database, one beautiful things we can do is we can set up a data pipeline. And what that data pipeline is doing is it's going to copy data from here, which is from this your Azure SQL database. It's going to copy data from your Azure SQL database and put that data in your lakehouse. But before you put that in your lakehouse, once you set up a data pipeline that copy data from your Azure SQL database, then you can even set up another activities that kind of send an email when your pipeline failed or your pipeline is not successful. So you can set up an activity, just a simple activities, right? Just a simple activities that just tell you, okay, so your pipeline failed or your pipeline didn't fail. So that's what you do. Then after you set up a successful pipeline, you now put that data you copy, you put it in a lake house. Yeah, you store it in the lake house. So once you store that data in a lake house, you can as well now use a data flow, which is what I call Power Query. We're going to use that data flow to now connect back to the lake house, right? Which is the data I use copy command with my data pipeline, the pipeline I set up, the data I put in my lakehouse. I'll use a data flow to connect back to that data for some transformation. Remember, I said you can either use a notebook for a transformation or you use your uh, data flow, right? So I'm going to use data flow back to connect back to my lakehouse. And once I do that to connect back to my lakehouse, I'm going to clean it and also store it back inside lakehouse as a table format. Now, another interesting thing I'm going to do in a demo is that I'm going to connect data flow directly to the Azure SQL database. So I don't need to kind of set up a pipeline. There's another way you can do that. You can also connect directly to the SQL database, right? So we can connect the data flow directly to the SQL database, and you feed in the data to this your data flow. Then from there, you store that data back in the lake house. You can also do some kind of interesting thing. Let's say you have some data in some Excel or CSV on your desktop. We can bring that directly into our lakeout as well and join it with our SQL database, with data we already have in SQL. So we just bring that data, connect it directly into the same lakehouse, and use our data flow agent tool to connect to that and store that data back into a lakehouse. So once all our data is now sitting in the lakehouse, one thing we're going to do is to transform and store the data. So we've stored the data in the lakehouse. We can use SQL to just query the data, look at what is going on right there in the data. Then another interesting thing I mentioned is about shortcut, right? So I can create a shortcut that will connect data from another lakehouse. So let's say I have a data stored in another lakehouse. So I'm going to show that scenario in this sample that I want to show as well. So I have some data sitting in another lakehouse. So I'll create a shortcut that will go and bring that data from me in another lakehouse and put it directly in my lakehouse, the one I'm using. When then I'm going to do that is I'm going to query that with SQL endpoint. So this is like kind of a scenario I'm going to paint through to you guys to show how we can build some data engine, setting up a perfect data strategy, storing the data appropriately, and how we can query some data with our fabric. And this is the scenario I'm going to paint through. So everything I showed here, and that is what I'm going to demo to you today in this data engineering class. Now, let's go there. So now to access fabrics, for some of us that be like, okay, so this fabric, how do I access it? How do I even show fabrics? One thing you're going to do is I'm going to go to Power BI. When you go to Power BI.com, that is where your fabric is. And you will see that immediately I loaded Power BI.com, this icon of fabrics is showing. This icon of fabrics is showing. This icon of fabric is showing. So for you, it may not show at the first time. So I'm going to show you how to enable fabrics. How you can enable fabrics. So how do you enable fabrics so that you can see this icon as well, and you have access to Microsoft Fabric. Currently, Microsoft Fabric is running on 60 days trial. So when you use Microsoft Fabric, All right, great. So you have settings, then there is something called admin portal. There's something called admin portal down here. So if I click admin portal from my powerbi.com, it's going to take me to the Power BI setting. Okay, so right, Microsoft Fabric preview. User can create Fabric item. So you're going to switch this on. So this is currently enabled. So I enable this. Immediately you enable this, then you'll be able to test fabrics out. So enable this right here in your powerbi.com. You're going to see some icon below here. You're going to see this Power BI icon below. Look at this Power BI icon I'm showing below here. You're going to see this Power BI icon below here. I can see data science. I can see data warehouse and real-time analytics. So to kind of see this very well, I can Microsoft Fabric at the top here as well. On Microsoft Fabric, you see all your data in one location, organize, collaborate, and create. And this kind of make collaborations very easy. And that's one thing I love about Fabric is just collaboration. So you can do everything in the same place. Think of the way you use SharePoint, right? The way people kind of share data, all of you work together in your SharePoint. That's how Fabric is going to be. So right here, I can see Power BI, Data Factory, Synapse Data Engineering, Synapse Data Science, Synapse Data Warehouse, and Synapse Real-Time Analytics. So one thing you should do first before you set up your fabrics, right? What I advise, right? When you are setting up your fabrics, or you want to set up a pipeline, you want to set up a data flow, you want to create data warehousing, you should kind of create a workspace first, right? Create a workspace where you can work with. And how do you create a workspace? Some of us are familiar with Power BI very well. If you go to workspaces here, if you go to workspaces, you will see the workspaces that you have access to and how you can create a store on that particular workspace. And the reason why I do that is because I want to maintain some security access so that when I'm started sharing my resources to people, I know the kind of people I can share it with. Now, in this workspace, I've already done some things here that you can see, but let me still go back to your here. So for today, we're going to explore these two things, right? Which is data fabric and then data factory and system data engineering. So let me go to Synapse Data Engineering, and let's see what we can do there. Synapse Engineering, data engineering, you can see everything there. You can start a lakehouse, so you can create a lakehouse. So a lakehouse is definitely like a storage, right? So it's like a storage. So we can start with curating a lakehouse first. That's the first thing I think we're going to do. So I'm creating a storage where we can store our data and transform our data. So when I click on lakehouse, it's going to show me something. So look at this new lakehouse, right? So I'm going to call this lakehouse Ninja platform demo. Ninja platform lakehouse. All right, so let me just, because it's not accepting number, so let me just say demo lakehouse. So demo lakehouse. Okay, and I'm going to click on create. All right, so I have successfully created a lakehouse, and this is loading my lakehouse right now. So this lakehouse that I've created is just a storage that I've created on Fabric. right? And right here in this lake house, you can see tables, file, any kind of file, and I want to save inside my lake house. I can kind of come to this file storage and click on this three dot here, create like a subfolder. So let me create a subfolder now. And this subfolder, I can just say I want to store HR data, HR data set, and then I'll click on create in my lake house. So it's currently creating a subfolder for me. Okay, so in my data set, you will see upload here, right? Then I can click on upload files or upload a folder. So what I'm going to do files. So I'm going to upload a data from my set HR data set here, HR analytics data set. I'm going to open that and then upload it. Okay, so you can see what I'm basically doing is still working with a folder right now, just the way you want it in a folder, and I created a subfolder. So, and if you see, my data has been uploaded successfully. You can see it here. So look at the data set. The data set is already here, and it has uploaded successfully. And then I have my lakehouse set up. Now, going back to my Synapse Data Engineering, let me go back. All right. So going back here, you see the lake house that I've created is called Demo Lake House. Demo Lake House. And if I go to the workspace that I'm using for this, you can see that workspace here too. Nigeria Data Platform, right? Nigeria Data Platform workspace. And under this workspace, all the things I've created will be here. Everything I've created will be here. Data set come with a SQL endpoint and also come with lakehouse. So that means I can use SQL endpoints with this lakehouse I've created. Now let's add some new things. So let's say I want to add a data pipeline, right? Remember the scenario that I showed you in my PowerPoint. I said I'm going to I'm going to set up a data pipeline that will connect to Azure SQL database, which is the data that I've already migrated from my on-prem. So I'm going to set up a data pipeline. So I'll click on the data pipeline here.
Okay, so Mr. Yeah, Mr. Dewale, your internet seems to not be stable. Please, you want to check that because I've seen in the comment people are saying the screen is all right. So, Mr. Dewale, if you can hear me, just know that there is a bit of network issues from your end. I hope it's still in the. So, my apologies to everyone. All right. Just to be sure.
You can hear me
No,
clearly,
no, we can't
right?
hear you. Though we can see your screen, but we can't. It seems to be breaking. It seems to be breaking. Just to be sure. Apologies for. Okay, I can see your back, but I can't hear you. Just so you know. Um, so you can
Please
just,
confirm if you can hear me now.
in a way,
Can you hear me
it's still
clearly
it's still
now?
breaking. In a way, it's still breaking.
You know?
Still, um, not really. It's still kind of breaking.
Can you
Your
hear me
screen
clearly,
is low.
Mr.
No, if it
Olajide?
is clearly no. Okay, go ahead now. Go ahead
Can you
now. I
hear
think
me?
it's better now. Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry for the break. I just have to change my internet there. So, like I was saying, that I can set up a new pipeline here, just like the scenario that I show you. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on New Pipeline, and let's see what that is going to show. Okay, so now it's asking me to give the pipeline a name. So I'm going to say demo pipeline, demo pipeline, demo SQL pipeline. So let me just call it demo SQL. And I'll click on create. So my pipeline is currently creating. Okay, still loading.
Mr. Dewale, confirm you can hear me, just to be sure.
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. Okay. So
Your
my
screen is
pipeline
still
the
okay.
pipeline from here. Tap from SQL, Azure SQL database. So I'm going to click on add to Canvas.
Okay, sorry about that. Mr. Dewale, you want to check from. My apologies, everyone. I'm sure his internet is not hit. Okay, it's back.
Kind of set up copy command to copy data from one database to another, or from one storage
So,
to
Mr.
another.
Mr. Adewale, can you hear me now? You want to retake that because
I
at
can
the
hear you.
time we couldn't see. Yes, I can hear you, but your internet. So, whatever you have done before now, just know that
Oh,
everyone couldn't see. So, you want to like take a step back in a way.
okay. So I'm just going to delete this. Let me delete this copy command then. All right. So what I did is I click on new pipelines, and it's brought me here. Like I want to set up a new pipeline. So this is a pipeline I want to set up. So to set up a pipeline, I go to copy command, and I had this to all this copy command is doing is that I to another. So what I did is I also renamed this command, and I call it copy data from SQL database. Copy data from SQL database. So that's what I call this copy So where do I want to get my data from? So is it an external data set? Is it within the same workspace, or is it a sample data set? But for this case, I'll be bringing the data from an external data source, right? What type of connections do I want to connect to? Am I connecting to a new connections, or I have a pre
Okay, so
connections
Mr.
already?
Dewale,
So I
sorry, just
can click on new
a quick
connections if I
feedback.
just want to connect to a
Just
connection that I
a moment, Mr.
can
Dewale.
connect to. You can see new connections here. So it's coming up. So you're going to
Mr.
bring up
Dewale, just to be
different
sure you
things that
can
I
hear
can
me.
connect to. Do you want to connect to a lake house? Do you want to connect to?
Mr. Dewale, can you hear me now, please? All right. So, Mr. Dewale, if you can hear me, uh, just
I
so you
can hear
know
you.
that
Can you hear me too?
your screen is not moving, is blurry one, is static. The movement, the synchronization is not there with your words you get. So that means that our audience will have missed. I can see your cursor hovering right now, which shows that it's fine, but our audience will have
Okay.
missed some of those steps. So sorry, please.
Okay. So let me
But
go
I
back.
think better now.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I can go back. Okay. All right, great. So I bring in a copy command pipeline. I bring in a copy command and I rename this copy command as copy data from SQL database. So what I'm doing now is I'm setting a source for this pipeline, for this copy command. So where did I want to copy a data from? So I'm saying you go to source, then on that source, you will see workspace, external, you will see sample data set. So do you want to bring a data from a sample data set or external or workspace? So for me, I want to bring a data from external data set. So you can kind of click on new, or if you have an existing connections, you can just select that connection here. So I have an existing connections, but let me just show you if I'm bringing a new. So if you click on new, right here, you see different places where you can bring in a data from. You can bring a data from. You can copy a data from Amazon, from Apache, from Azure Data Lake Gen 1, Gen 2, even from SQL database, from ODataFree, from Snowflake, SharePoint Online List, and the likes, even from SQL Server, REST, Google Cloud Storage, and the likes. So the one I want to connect to, if you go to database, is Azure SQL Server. So look at SQL Server here. So if I click on continue, I can now set up the connections here in my SQL Server since I want to copy a data from SQL Server. So this is loading. So I can put the server name here. I can put the database name here. You can see server name, database name. Then I put up a connections. So since I've already have this connection set before, so I don't need to disturb myself copying and pasting my server name or copying and pasting my database name. So I'm just going to go and select the connection, my existing connection. So here I have the name as an existing connections already from my database. So I'm going to select that. So this connections has been done already. So I'll select Azure SQL database. And I'm going to test this connection if it's still active. So I'm testing these connections now. All right, connection successful. So the connection is still fine. Now, do you want to bring in a connection as a table query or stop procedure, right? Which one do you want to bring it as? So I would like to just bring in a table. So when you look at this drop down here, you will see the different tables that is in there's in that my database. So I'm using Adventure, which is the open source data. So you see different tables that you can bring in. So for me, since I'm just using a simple copy command, I can just bring in one table for now, but I can still bring in all of them using each activity. But let me just bring in one simple table called fact internet says, or maybe fact finance. Let me just bring fact finance in. Now, I've selected the table I want to bring in, which is fact finance. I can also preview the data just to see how the data look like. So if you click on preview data, you see how the data look like here before you copy it in. Once the data is perfectly set, one thing you also need to do is to set up a destination, right? So after you've copied the data, where do you want to store the data that you've copied? So I would like to store it in a lakehouse. So I'll select lakehouse is what I want, and which of the lakehouse. So you have drop down here. I have different lakehouse listed here. The lakehouse that I created that time, if you remember, it's called Demo Lake House. Demo Lake House. That's the lakehouse that I created. So demo lakehouse is now sending me, do you want to store this as a table or you want to store it as a file? I think I'll prefer to store it as a file. So I'll select file. All right. So once I select file, it's now asking for a directory. So where do you want to store this? What directly, like a folder you want to store this on? So let me call this directory facts, or let me just call it finance, since I'm bringing in finance data. I'm going to put finance here. And what's the file name? So this is fact finance. All right. That's the file name, fact finance. That's what I'm going to call this. Now telling me it's going to bring this in like as a text, limited text. So one thing that is also very important that you should not forget is you have to click on this setting because it may bring the data in and it won't include the first row as an header. So the first row is actually like an header. So you have to tick this, right? So once you tick that and you click OK. So I am done setting my copy command. I can come to advanced and do some things under my copy behavior. Maybe I want to bring it as a flagged hierarchy or merge it as a file or preserve the hierarchy. Okay, so I am done setting my copy command. If you want to do a mapping, I don't do any mapping for now and any setting for now. I don't do that for now. So this copy command, I can kind of run it now. So we see whether it's copied successfully. So let me click on run. I'm going to save and run this copy command and let's see if it's going to copy data from SQL database and put it in our lakehouse successfully. Okay, so you can see this saving completed, successfully saved. Now it's running it. So what it's doing is it's going to SQL database, it's going to copy a data from SQL database and it's going to put it in your lake house. Then as it's running, you can see the output here and you can see the progress. So you can see the progress here, the status progress here is currently on queue. It's trying to go to the SQL database and trying to see if you can copy the data. And you can see succeeded, right? This has successfully succeeded. So that means there is now a data right there in my lake house, right? If I want to check that data, whether the data is there, let me go to my lake house from another tab. I'll just go to my lake house from another tab and let's go and see if the data has been stored inside the lake house. Okay, so while that is loading, in order to waste our time, let me add another activity. So another activity that I can also add here, if you click on this add activities tab right here, I can add another activities like I can even add a simple email to say, if this copy is successful, send an email to me. If it's not successful, send another email. So under add activities, you will see Office 365 Outlook here. So if you select it, for people that are familiar with Power Automate, this is just like you building a flow in Power Automate, right? So right here, I can give it a name. I can say send email if failed, right? If failed. Then I'll go to settings for these activities. Who are you sending email to? I want to send it to my Gmail account. So let me send it to my Outlook account instead. I'm not sure I have the Gmail open. Subject, I can type the subject or I can write some simple code. If you click on add dynamic content under here, if I click on add dynamic content, I can also some kind of hard a code, a simple code here that just kind of bring in the pipeline ID. Maybe I want to get the pipeline run ID, the pipeline name, or whatever. I can just click on add content, and right here in the add content, I can have Excel. You can use that here. So if I do at concat, right? I want to concat something. I'm just writing a simple code. And here I'm saying that, let me put this in code. I'll just say pipeline, pipeline, um, demo SQL is fail with the, so now to get the ID, let me put a comma in this my concat. To get the ID, if you type pipeline, if you type something called pipeline, it's going to show you different things you can get from the pipeline, right? If you look at the code that I'm showing here, I can get pipeline.data factory, I can get pipeline.group name, I can get pipeline.pipeline name. That's the pipeline name. I can get pipeline.run ID. But what I want is the run ID. So I'm going to select the run ID. So it's going to tell me the run ID for this pipeline. So let me close my bracket for this concat, and I'm going to click OK. So in my subject now, my subject is not just something I type. I just write a small code there, and you can see my subject. Same thing as my body. The body too, I can either type or add a dynamic content to my body. So, but right now, let me just put let me just type something. Pipeline pipeline failed. Pipeline failed. I will just say please check. I'll just say please check. So oh, okay, so now I am saving the. I'm going also going to set up another Outlook that if the pipeline did not fail, then you should
Yeah.
also
Okay. Your
send an
your internet is acting up a
email to
bit now.
me
Just to let you know.
and tell me how many rows was loaded. So to do that, I'll come here and build another pipeline and say also Outlook again. It's going to be Outlook again, and I email if successful. If successful, okay. Then in my settings as well, my toe is still the same email.
Yeah, Mr. Dewale, if you can hear me right now, I can't hear you at all, and believe I cannot see your screen. So you want to check, audience, while we're waiting for him to reconnect. Microsoft Fabric is actually a very nice platform, easy to use. You might not need to write code within all of this. There are some drag and drops. So Microsoft introduced it on the 23rd of May, that's last month, and we've been exploring it. And I can tell you for a fact that it is very lovely. What he's trying to show, what he's showing is that everything is done within Power BI environment. You know, we have the Power BI as a service. So where he is now, what he's doing it in the environment, because one someone has a question if this pipeline is created in Microsoft Fabrics. Yes, it is created in that environment. So Microsoft has introduced or embedded what we call Microsoft Fabrics within Microsoft's environment, I mean Power BI environment, such that instead of you stepping out to go to Azure to go to create something outside of that environment, but it's being put within Power BI, because of course Power BI is going to visualize that. So that means that whatever thing you can stay within Power BI and still get your data this demonstrating, just so you know that it is in that environment. So I hope that is screen would show up. Mr. Adewale, you want to confirm you can hear me? So I need to know. Um, the other speaker would be with us shortly. I don't know if he's already in the studio. So, in the person of Mr. Popola. So, Mr. Adewale, you want to confirm if you can hear me? But just to apologize, everyone, his internet. Um, I'm sure that that's the issue. But in order to let you know, be rest assured that for the duration of this series, you would be exposed to different things. Today we are looking at data engineering and data factory. For Power BI users that are in the house, there's what we call Power Query. So Power Query, if you're going to create data engineering, right? So there is Power Query. I'm just trying to say it that way. There's what we call Power Query, where you can do transformation, where you can clean your data, add a column, add a row, remove this. So So it is now online, because what it's trying to demonstrate is that you would create, when you go to Microsoft Fabrics, you will see data engineering, data factory, and that engineering is to say that you are trying to do some things. You're trying to clean your data, trying to ensure that the data is fit for purpose, because at the end of the day, it will be visualized, I mean, by Power BI. But all this aspect that is doing is to say, okay, I'm creating a data flow. After creating a data flow, you are trying to create a pipeline. Uh, there is what we call test development and deployment. So all of this that is being doing is showing that process, because there's always an end. So it's just to let you know that that's what it's trying to do. I can only imagine that the internet is not really helping at this time. But if there are questions while we wait for him to reconnect, be free to drop those questions. All right. But I can assure us that Microsoft Fabric is lovely, fantastic. We've been checking it. The amazement, the possibility is so like it's too much. And it is easy. You would at the end of the day, you understand that it's actually easy, not difficult, because it's also a step by step thing. It's as you're doing something, one thing, the next one, you would also be guided. You will see the next thing to do. So that is it. I hope that he can join us soon. But while we wait, please, you can drop any questions. I will be able to answer us. Um, so please, if just to be sure that my internet is fine, if you can hear me in the comment section, you can just actually drop. I want to be sure that I'm not the one with internet issue, just to be sure. Please, if you can hear me, you can see me, my internet is fine. Please kindly drop something in the comment section, just to be sure. Oh, what of Microsoft Copilot? Okay, Microsoft Copilot uh, a is like you asking a question using natural language. All right. So it is not yet fully released. It is embedded in some of the applications, but before Microsoft will release it fully, it will share with. I mean, they will share with some people to test and to check that okay before they now release it to the public. But it is available in Power BI, right? Desktop. The functionality is going to be everywhere. It's going to be in Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Outlook. I mean, it will be in Office Suite. And it also automate all of this app. But what does it do? It allows you to express yourself, but it's in Power BI, right? You would have to write calculations, like you want to write DAX. In case you're hearing that for the first time, is to say you would do some calculation, 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2, because there is no how you want to create some report that you will not want to say how many clients visitors or how many patients do we have in the hospital. And so you want to do some of these calculations. So in case you are now like, oh, how will I be able to write the DAX? So Microsoft now, I think they felt that, okay, let's make things easier. So this is me answering um Adana, right? Moment with Adana to say, okay, Microsoft now introduced Copilot that is a natural language engine that allows you to express yourself. Just like you would, just like OpenAI or the GPT that we've been seeing. So it is integrated into Power BI desktop as at now. So you can just ask some questions, right? To say what is the total number of customer. So instead of you writing that DAX, instead of you writing that calculation yourself, then you can type it. When you type it, of course, the Copilot will just help you do the calculation and show you. So when it shows you, you also want to check that, okay, what is rating. Because if you say what is total number of customer or client, that means you want to count how many heads, like per one, like one. So it's just going to return the count of that to you. So um Adana, I hope that I answered you correctly, because it's a word of Microsoft Copilot. So audibly fine. Okay, thank you for that feedback. Eh, So if there are other questions, please be free. I would be holding the brief while we wait for him. But just so you know, we have another speaker that is going to take it, because what we have planned for today is not too far. It's similar thing. Okay, good. I'm happy that I answered it correctly. Data factory, data engineering. That's what we'll put together. So two people are supposed to talk on it today. So while we're waiting for Mr. Wale to join us, I hope that Mr. Popola is already in the studio so that we can take this further. But while we wait, whatever question you have, okay. So Microsoft Fabric, right? When you go to the environment, I don't want to steal this session. So I just, but of course, I don't have the data. The flow. Oh, great. He's back.
I've been here. Oh, I've been talking for almost 30 minutes, but you can't hear me.
Oh, no, no, we can't. So please,
I was even
you can
sharing.
share your screen, please. You can share your screen,
I've been
please.
sharing. I've been talking. Oh, but it's like you can't hear me
I
at
can
the
see
back
your
end.
screen. I can see your screen. Very fine. So you can take it away, please. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Sorry for the glitch, guy. I think Nigeria network is not reliable. Okay, so as I was saying, I was just setting up a data pipeline, and that's what I'm doing. And I also show you the data pipeline here that the copy command that I did, I've copied a data to my lakehouse called Fact Finance. It has copied a data to my lakehouse called Fact Finance. So another interesting thing I can do is if you look at tables, you will see currently under my table, there's nothing under the table. It's only files that I have. So another interesting thing I can do is that I can add the data flow, which is a data Power Query basically that you have in your desktop, to connect to that same data and transform it and send it back to my lakehouse so I can do some things on it. So to do that, I can just come here to add an activities and add a data flow. So I'm just building a pipeline. So this data flow, what's the data flow about? I can say um, data flow for finance data flow for finances. Then under settings right here, I'm going to select, do you have a data flow already? I want to set up a new data flow. So I'll just say new. So I'm setting a new data flow, which is I want to connect to the data that I use copy command to bring into my um, lake house. Okay, so my data flow is loading. All right, so here is my data flow. This is how data flow look like, which is like the Power Query online. This is how it looks like. But I'm going to click on get data and I'll click more. I'm sure the people that are familiar with Power Query, you should get familiar with this very well. So I'm going to click more and I'm going to search for what do I want to connect to here. I want to connect to the lake house. So remember, I'm connecting back to my lake house. So let me type lake house here. Then you can see lake house right here. That's where I'm connecting to. So it's going to connect to that automatically. So I'll click next since I'm still within the same environment. All right. So once I click next, you're going to see all the workspaces that I have right there in my lakehouse. So the lakehouse I want to connect to, remember that workspace we are working with is the Ninja Data Platform. And I created a lakehouse called Demo Lakehouse. I have different other lakehouse like Adventure Work, Testing, and all that. But the one I want is the Demo Lakeout. So I will expand the Demo Lakeout. Under Demo Lakehouse, I will have something called File. So I'm going to select Expand File under Demo Lakehouse. Then on that file, I'm going to go to Finance. Finance is what I'm working with for now. I may also work with HR Analytic data set. So I'll bring that in. So probably I should even select more than one. So look at HR Analytic data set too. I have some file in there too that I can also bring in if I want to. But let me just bring in Fact Finance in. Then I will click on Create, which is the data set I use copy command to bring in from SQL. So we're going to click Create. Okay. So right now that I'm in Curate, now is loading Power Query, right? I'm sure most of us are familiar with this interface. This is the same Power Query interface you are familiar with in Excel and also Power BI. It's the same Power Query in Power BI and also the same Power Query in Excel, right? But the only thing is that the data flow one is just kind of more updated than the one you have on BI or the one you have on Excel. So this is Power Query and it's currently loading my table right now. And this is my table here. So the view we are all kind of more familiar with is this view. So you can kind of change your different views here. You can change it from schema view to maybe a table view right here. And from a table view, you can change it to a diagram view right here. So this is my table, my Power Query table. So first thing I'm going to do for people that are used to Power Query very well, I need to kind of promote this header. So if I come to my transform, I can say use first row as headers. All right. Then it's going to transform and put that my first row as headers. So, and it has added another steps to this my diagram view. So you can see that it has added another step here called promoted headers. So if I have another data I want to bring in, I can as well also bring in that data as well and see what is going on with that data, blah, blah, blah. I can also change all the data type here. Maybe column 1 is text, column 2 is number, column 3 is date. But based on what I'm looking at, I think the data type look okay. So now in Power Query, before you leave Power Query, you must always set a destination. So where do you want to load this data to? And that's one thing about Fabrics, right? So I'll come to my add data to a destination. So I want to store it in a lakehouse. So I'll select the same lakehouse, right? And I'll click next. Then it's going to ask me which lakehouse I want to store it in. Okay, so now it's telling me to choose the lakehouse I want to store it in. So I'm going to go to the workspace. The workspace is the Nigeria Data Platform. The lakehouse is called Demo Lakehouse. And then the folder there is finance. So I'll select Demo Lakehouse and just click next. And then now this update method is very important, right? You have existing data, you have new data, you have append, and you have replace. So do you want to replace this data anytime you want to do the copy command, from our SQL? Do you want to replace it in that your lakehouse, or you want it to append it? That means you are getting data every month, maybe monthly data, you are just appending it, or you want to add this as a new data, right? So, but for now, I'll do replace data, and I'm going to do save setting. So replace this. Right, so I'm saving my settings now. Okay, so once I'm done, then I'm going to select publish. I'm going to publish this. Now I've clicked publish. So I'm publishing this, and let's go and look how this data is going to look like in our lakehouse. Okay, so I've published this. Now, immediately I've published this, the data should be sitting already inside my lakehouse. That's one beautiful things about that. So if I go to my lakehouse and I go to tables now, there should be a data. So let me refresh this. Let me refresh my lakehouse. There should be a table now based on what I've loaded. Okay, so let me just reload the page so we can see that. Okay, so my lakehouse is loading. It's loading right there. Okay, so let me check. I think my table did not load. So let me check. Okay, my data flow is still running here. So you can see here that my data flow is still kind of running. And here you can see it's still loading here. So I need to kind of even run the pipeline again. So let me go back to the pipeline that I created. I think I call it demo SQL pipeline. So let me go to demo SQL pipeline, and I'm going to run the pipeline so that my data flow can also run as well. Okay, so all right, I think it's still loading as well. So still loading. Guess my internet is very slow today. All right, so I think my data flow is still loading as well. So all right, so let me just do another simple demo for you right here. If my data flow is not loading in time, I'm just basically going to go back, probably bring another data in. So I'm going to set up a new data flow. So let me set up a new data flow that is already right there inside the lakehouse already. So when I open a lakehouse, a data flow, you can as well bring in a data from your desktop. You remember I mentioned something in the scenario that we're using, that we can bring in a data from our desktop as well. Let's say I have a particular data on my desktop screen that I want to work with, and I want a data set called historical sales data. So I can just carry it like this from my desktop and put it directly in my data flow gen 2. And once I do that, it's going to upload it directly into the data flow. And you can see it's currently uploading it right now. It's uploading this data set. Okay, so it has uploaded successfully. So let me click next. Let me click next. Right, so it's telling me to my credentials. So let me set up my credentials again. I'm going to sign in. I'm going to sign into these credentials. Okay, so let me reload this. All right, so I'm going to sign in into this credentials now so that the connections can work. Okay, so once I do that, then I'll click next. So immediately I click next, it's going to kind of upload that data into the lake house, and you can see all the data. So I have the D calendar, I have the DLOB, model, I have the D store, and I have the fact. So I'm going to select the data I want to connect to. So I'll just connect to just this first 5. Then I'll click on create. So once I create this is the same Power Query you are familiar with. It's going to take this data, all of this data that I've selected, into Power Query. And from Power Query, I'll just load it directly into the lakehouse. Okay, so these are my data sets right there. You can see all of the table here. I can decide to build like a steps for cleaning this data up, but I don't need to do any cleanup right now. I'll just set up my destination. Okay, so my destination is lakehouse. So let me set up the lakehouse and then click on next, just like the way I did in the previous example. Okay, so click next. Let me click next now. Turns to my lake house so that I can select where I want to save all these tables that are connected to in my lake house. Okay, document out of dates. What's that? I think my internet is a bit very slow today.
Well done, Mr. Dewale. I can see it still is connecting, so it's fine.
Okay, so it's still loading. Um, I don't want to create password. Okay, so let me try if I can get a simple data here that will not load forever. This one is loading forever and ever. Still loading. All right, so I'm just going to get a simple data set here that will not load forever and ever. So I'm going to bring that HR data set that I already loaded in my lakehouse. So let me bring that in. I'm not sure that one is big enough to waste our time. So, so let me click on this. All right, so let me bring in a small data from the demo lakehouse. And then probably I'll bring this HR analytics data set. Okay, so I'm going to bring this HR analytics data set or even the finance data set that I have there already. So let me bring that in and click on create. Okay, so meanwhile, while that is loading, I have another lakehouse that I've already set up already. So probably I'm just going to show that up now so we don't delay ourselves with unnecessary internet glitches. So, okay, this is also loading and it's still loading. Okay, so this one is fine. So I'm just going to promote the header and load this as a table into the lakehouse. So use first row as header. That's the command. Use first row as headers. And then I'm going to set the destination into the lakehouse. Okay, so let's set the destination. The destination is lakehouse. All right, so let me click next. All right, and I'm saving it under demo lakehouse. Demo lakehouse. Demo lakehouse, and I'll click demo lakehouse, and I'll click create. Okay, so I'm going to say save settings, and then let's publish this. Okay, this is still loading. All right, so I've saved this as the destination. So let me publish it. So I'm going to publish it into the lake house now, and we can see how the data look like in the lake house. Okay, so it has successfully published. So let me open the lake house, the demo lake house one. I'm going to open that up. Okay, so this is my demo lake house right here. I've opened the demo lake house, but there are two things, right? You can as well open your lake house as a SQL endpoint or as a lake house itself. So because you may want to query your data in a way, you may want to use a SQL query. So if you look at my tables now, you can see I now have a table called Fact Finance right here. And I have a table called Fact Finance. And when you click on that table, you will see all the details of what is inside that table, inside the lakehouse. Then right here as well, you can switch your lakehouse from just ordinary lakehouse into a SQL endpoint. And that is what I love about that. So when you switch to a SQL endpoint, that gives you access to kind of do some SQL query, to query your data in a way, to do some basic query, or to even do some data modeling, or to even do some basic things. So let me show you an example. If I click on new SQL query and I select top 100, right? Immediately I do select top 100, you can see that it has queried the data for me. It has queried the top 100 data for me, and I can keep on building more and more and more query right here from this SQL query. Another interesting things that make this work is for the people that are not really familiar with Power Query very well, you can also do new visual query. So new visual query is just a new drag and drop interface. And when you do a drag and drop interface, it's going to write a SQL query for you. So look at this new visual query. So I'm going to select new visual query. Then from here, I will drag the table I want to query into the screen. Let me drag that table in. So this is still loading. Okay, I think my system is throwing error. All right, so I have another lakehouse. So let me show that if this new one is not just loading forever and ever. Sorry for my uh, internet glitches. So meanwhile, one thing about using cloud for everything is you have to have a solid internet, a very, very good internet, right? And if your internet is not that good enough, then there's going to be a lot of issues. So you can see I've dragged in a table right here inside this my visual query and it's still loading. So I want to show you an example of a visual query. So you can as well use a visual query if you don't want to write a SQL code. You can just build in a visual query, and as you're building that visual query, it's writing it for you in a SQL code. So now this is a visual query right here. So I have this table here. I may want to do something very simple, like maybe I want to view like top 100, or I want to even select some column. I don't want it's not some column that I want to see. So if I click on manage column and I select choose column, so if I choose some basic column, let's say I choose finance key, and this is using Power Query, I use amount and I do date, and I click OK. So this is you using your normal Power Query to create a visual query. And then the immediately I do this, I can come here and say view SQL, right? View SQL. So once I click on view SQL, this is the SQL code of the exact same query that I created. Select finance key, date key, amount date from dakehouse.dbo.factfinance as table, right? That's the simple SQL code that I wrote, and I can edit the SQL code. I can also do a simple group by activities or even combine another table. So if I click on group by, for the people that are not really familiar with group by very well in SQL, but you are familiar with group by very well in Power Query, you can use it here. Let me go to advanced. I want to group by date. I also want to group by finance key, and I also want to group by I've selected finance key before. Finance key, date, and then maybe date key. Then what am I grouping by? I'm grouping by total amount, total amount, total amount. So let me remove date key from here, and probably let me remove um, um, maybe a date as well. I just want group by finance key. Then this I'm grouping based on summation, sum. And what am I summing? I'm summing the amount, right? If I want to add another aggregation, I can say count of date, right? And I'll use count row here, or I'll use probably a simple count distinct, right? Or I can do count distinct value from date key, right? So that's a group by activities. So once I click OK, it's going to create these same activities for me. And while creating these same activities, I can view these same activities as a SQL code. Now look at this SQL code. So select row.finance as finance key, sum this, count this. Look at the count that I did, count this case. So writing this SQL code yourself may be very tasking. And when I click on edit SQL script, I can kind of edit this as a SQL script. Now look at this. This is now a SQL script. I can edit, remove some things, and even run it. Let me run it so you see. So I'm running this script right now, and let's see what it's going to give us. So it's giving us finance key, total amount, and also my count of date based on the group by that I did. So if you have already now do some kind of transformation and clean up to this data set right here, I can now save this file as a view. Look at this. I can highlight it like this right here now and save this SQL as a view so that whoever is connecting to this, whether in Power BI or you're using it for reporting, you are using a view table. So I can leave it as DBO, and I said finance fact or fact finance view, fact finance view, right? Fact finance view, and this is the SQL code here, and I can click OK. Immediately I click OK. What I did, we directly go to into a view. So what I did, we go to a view. You can see view fact file has been successfully created. So the view has been successfully created, and this is loading. And if you look at this now, you can see my view, and I have fact file new under my view, which is kind of interesting. So, and right here as well, when I click my view, I'll be able to see what the view is all that here. And you also have something below here called data query and model. So for those that are used to creating a complex data warehousing online, so you can see query here. This is where I'm currently query, and you can also see model here. Model is just like your data model you have in Power BI desktop, and I can kind of create a data model here and connect something to each other. Finances to finance key, for example. If I connect that to each other and I click confirm, so it's going to create a relationship between these two tables. And by creating a relationship between two tables, I can now say, okay, my data engineering work is done. The data is well structured. The data is well clean. And then whoever wants to work on this report can start working on this. So that is just a simple example, but you can do way, 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 way more than this, right? So I don't know if my second speaker is online now, Mr. Olajide. We want to confirm that? You want me to continue?
I guess you should just continue. Maybe it's also, I wouldn't know if he's having network issues joining, but I've reached out to him and he's been trying to connect. So please, if you can just continue, please. Thank you. You know
Okay.
that you are
All
our
right.
MVP, so thank you so much.
Okay. That's fine. So I'm sorry for the internet glitches. There's actually a lot we'll have done on Fabric today. So
Yes, I think it's smooth
just
now.
to
It's
know,
been smooth for some time.
okay, it's smooth now. And
Yes,
another thing is we are focusing on data engineering, really, not really reports. So we have to do some more complex engineering work. So now,
of course.
what I did basically show you here is I just show you the SQL code. I can write the SQL code. I can write whatever. Meanwhile, the pipeline I created the other time as well. Let's go and see if the pipeline is even as successfully run. So sometimes if your internet is not very good, that's why I said cloud system. If your internet is really not very good, you may have to make sure that you do justice to that and have a very good internet. So that's the only way your internet can work fine. So I want to close this data flow and let's just go back. Okay. So like I said, I want to show one um, lakehouse I've already created before this one. So we can see the data set that is there and all that. So let me open this lakehouse. Okay, so this lake house that I have here is like something I've already created before. I've already done that before, and I brought in the data from AdventureWorks, which is from my SQL database. And like I said, you can change this from lake house to SQL endpoint, and SQL endpoint now allows you to kind of query your data using SQL, creating a view, even a store procedure, everything you can create it right there from there. So here I created some SQL query here. I just write some basic SQL just to see what is going on. So I just do a simple select star from fact internet says where unit price is greater than 1000. So let me run this SQL query. So where unit price is greater than 1000. And then once the SQL run, you can now save this file as a view that people can now connect to, and they connect it from Power BI. And I'm sure when you get to the other classes like the data warehousing class and the data reporting class, you will see how people will bring in the data that we've already worked on, we've already cleaned it, we've already write a query on it, we've made the data look well structured, right? In fact, we can even create it as a guest for people. So if you're a guest, I can create a store procedure for you and also a view table so that when you go to we just give you like a credentials as a guest so that you can connect to that data as a guest from any reporting tool you're using, whether Power BI, whether Excel, or whatever tool that you decided to use. So if you want to create a data warehouse, you can start creating a data warehouse here, but that's not the aim of this class. So I'm going to leave that for now. Now, I'm going to go and look at our pipeline that we created, and let's see if the pipeline has successfully saved. So let me see demo SQL pipeline. demo SQL pipeline. So let me open that up. Okay, so that is loading. All right, so now it has successfully saved, but it didn't complete. So something happened. So that's because maybe as I was going up and down, I didn't save. The only thing that saved is the copy activities. So the other one didn't save. So I can leave that for now. I'm sure I've explained where it comes in. Now, when it comes to pipeline, right, there are so many activities you can bring in. There's a data flow activity, the one I showed you. There is a notebook activities we can also use as well. There's a lookup activity that we can use to look up and also invoke, and some other activities like that. Now, I mentioned something when I was explaining the scenario, right? You know, this scenario we did is we set up a pipeline that connect to SQL and they store data in a lakehouse. We also use data flow to bring in the data from Excel and we store it in the data in the lakehouse. We also create a pipeline that send an email to us, just a simple email. Then we also use SQL query to query, but we didn't do something on shortcut. So shortcut is I can create a shortcut of another data set that I have from another lakehouse into into another lakehouse. So if you look at the lakehouse we created together, it's called demo lakehouse. That's our own lakehouse. It's called demo lakehouse. But I have another lakehouse here that I show you called AdventureWorks. So I can create a view or a shortcut of this AdventureWork or some data inside this AdventureWork inside my own demo lakehouse without having to delete or creating anything new in this new lakehouse. So if I go back to my, let me switch this back to lakehouse instead of SQL. Okay, so I'm switching it back to lakehouse instead of SQL endpoint. Now from here on that file, when I click this drop down, you see something called new shortcut. If I click table as well, you see new shortcut. So you can either bring in a shortcut as a file or as a table. So let's bring in a table. So I'm going to click new shortcut. And inside new shortcut, do you want to bring in a data lake from Gen 2? So for those that are used to Azure Synapse, if you've been using Azure Synapse very well, you know Azure Synapse use a storage of data lake Gen 2. That's the storage of Azure Synapse. So if you have all the data stored in Azure Synapse already, you can just use a shortcut to bring it here. You don't have to move it. So you're just bringing it as a shortcut, right? Since we all know Fabrics use one lake, right? So I'm going to use one lake. And once I select one lake, it's going to tell me which lake are you talking about. I have demo lake, which is the one I'm coming from, and I have AdventureWork data lake. So I'm going to select Adventure AdventureWorks. Yes, that's my lake. Then under AdventureWorks, I have tables and I have files. So, but the table is what I want. So called fact internet sales. That's the table that I want. Fact internet sales. And when you keep expanding the table, you can see the data log of the table. You can see the mashup of the mashup temporary of the table. You can see different things about the table. What I want is the fact internet sales. So I'll click create. Okay. So I've created a shortcut right there in my new data lake. And look at the shortcut, fact internet sales. This table is just a shortcut from my other data lake. It's not created right here in this data lake. It's just like a shortcut. So if I query this query, or I append it with my own query, or I delete this particular table here, it doesn't affect the original table in AdventureWork, right? It's just a shortcut here. It's like a view as well, just a view right here that you can look at as well and do some things on. So let's say I'm creating this particular table too. Let's say I'm doing something like this simple query that I did here, right? Or I want to group it. So I'm just going to do switch to my SQL endpoint so I can use SQL to query it. Okay. All right, so immediately I switch to SQL endpoint. It's already switched here, so I can see all the tables here. So this is the one that I want. So I can right click on it and say new SQL query. Now, for those that are used to DAX in Power Query, I can also write DAX directly inside this table right here. So I can write dark statement directly inside this table right here. And that's why you can see new measure. So I can write a measure right here that look at maybe I want to sum up the amount or I want to sum up whatever, right? But that's not what I want to do. So let me just do a simple uh, query. So let me do a new query. I'm going to do select top 10, top 100. So this is selecting the top
Just a
100.
moment, Mr. Adewale.
And from here
Your
now,
colleague
okay,
is there.
I think my Mr. Popola is here. Yeah.
Just so
Okay.
you know.
So you left me, sir.
I have been enjoying you. I have been
Okay.
enjoying you from the back from the back end.
Oh,
You know,
that's great.
when
So when you are
somebody
ready, let me
when
know. I can.
somebody when somebody is an MVP, it's an opportunity to learn from the person.
When you
Thank you
are
for the
ready,
wonderful
just
work
let
you
me
have
know.
done. Yes, I'm done. Yes, I'm done. I'm
You are
ready.
ready now. Okay.
Just
Okay.
conclude
So
yours.
now
Just
this
conclude
simple.
that aspect.
Let me just round up in 2 minutes. So this particular aspect, I
Yeah.
just copy a query that I just wrote now, just a simple query code, and I'm going to run it. So once I run this, let me run it again. I didn't highlight it well. So once I run it, it's going to run right here. And this table is from AdventureWorks. Remember, it's just a shortcut. It's not sitting in this lake house. It's just a simple shortcut, and I can save it as a view as well. I can go save it as a view and say fact sales, or fact internet sales shortcut, shortcut, and I'm going to just click OK, and that is going to save as a view. So in a nutshell, Fabric is amazing, and it's something we should all explore soon. If you have been running from data engineering before, or you don't want to learn data engineering, you feel it's too complex, I think this is the time. Or what do you think, people? Like, this is the time to jump on it
Yeah,
because it's kind
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
easy. Yeah, all the drag and drop interface. So I think this is where
Yeah.
we hand over to you. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm so sorry for the internet
Thank
glitches
you.
again.
Thank you so much. Before you go, Mr. Adewale. Okay. Mr. DG has something to say. Mr. Jide, do you have something to say?
Yes, Mr. Kupola, you are welcome to the front end. Not the, Mr. Adewale has been dazzling us with, but we forget the internet because
Yeah.
when the team is now sweeting me, that is so.
Yeah.
All our audience sincerely, it's been nice. So, Mr. Kupola,
Yeah.
because you are just joining, I'll just introduce you.
Okay.
You get the point. So, hope you are ready to share your screen.
Yeah, definitely yes.
Okay. So everyone, this is Mr. Popola Isiaka. Pardon me because of our time, because I want you to enjoy his session. So I don't want to go through my slide and read his. He's rich and word of experience, but he's you are in a good hand. So Mr. Popola, you can take it away, please. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Wonderful job, Mr. Adewale has done. When you are paired with a Microsoft most valuable person, you have to learn because it's like you are being paired with a professor.
Yeah, I
so
understand.
so for me, it was an advantage to also learn from him and to also get to know some other beautiful stuffs that Fabrics has given to us. So thank you so much, Mr. Adewale, for the well done, good job that you have done. So for me, I just want to add very little to the discussion, and I'll be coming from the angle of um, data fabrics and I'm a Microsoft Fabrics with special interest on data factory. And the aspects that I will look at is that what are the basic operations that we do when we are talking about
Data.
data factory. So the most popular operations that we do are the likes of data injection. What do I mean by data injection? That is bringing in data from anywhere. Power BI has told us that, look, I have the capacity to bring data from more than 260 sources, which, as at now, there is no single tool that we know in the world that has been able to break that record. And we also do what we call data injection. After data injection, we do that what we call data transformation. We do data movement. We do data orchestration. We do monitoring and logging. We do integration with other services. We do security and compliance. So these are an holistic overview of the basic operations that we can do within data factory environment. Before the advent of the Microsoft, I just want to lay some foundation before we go to the demo section. Before the advent of Microsoft Microsoft Fabrics, we were having Azure Synapse Analytics, and everybody in the data field was saying, "Hey, this is the biggest that we could have in the moment." I can also remember before the advent of the Azure Synapse Analytics, we were struggling with Power BI. That this Power BI would have given us so much. We don't think something else can come over after you. And somebody that was coming from a background of just ordinary Excel, and you are now being migrated to the cloud service with the use of Power BI. I can remember how many times I struggled to master Power BI. Before I knew it, there was an advent of Azure Synapse Analytics. They told me, look, Popola, if we are still struggling with Power BI, Azure Synapse Analytics has come. So until the advent of Fabrics now, that everybody will also look at, well, how can we maximize the advantage. The beautiful things about cloud service is that people that are thinking are not sleeping. We that are consuming technology, we can be sleeping. I'm telling you, as we are celebrating Fabric today, something is cooking behind the scene, and we should not be surprised if maybe by the Ignite, maybe towards November, December this year, Microsoft Ignite, when we are being told that look, you in data provision on data platform, there's something beautiful that we have released. But the beautiful part of it is that if you have built your foundation very strong, from where you are coming from to where you are going, it will be more easier. For instance, now the fabrics that we are talking about, it's not something that's just coming new. No, it is building on the existing technologies. It is building on the existing technology. Like for instance, now if you are talking about data factory has been existent. It is in on the Azure,
Yeah.
and today they have combined both Azure data fabrics in data factory in Azure with a Power Query. It has
Very
been a
fantastic.
So it has been a very wonderful, fantastic combination. Let me give you a story. Recently, just this week, I was facilitating a data analytics section for some lecturers at one universities in southwestern Nigeria. And along the line, when they installed the software, they were having a lot of challenges because during the installation of that software, it was asking for one just particular add-on. They call it .NET, Microsoft.NET framework. So because some of their systems were not able to install that Power BI software, they were unable to connect. So it was a tug of war for me to discover that it cannot work on that system because they were using operating systems that was defunct. Defunct when something is outdated. So and that what has been the I want to bring more discussion to this before I go to demo. And that's what technology has given to us. That where you can be safer now is the cloud service. That is where you can be safer is the cloud service. One, if you are on the cloud, the issue of your operating system is updated is not there. If you're on the cloud, you can be able to secure
Yeah.
your data in terms of security, in terms of compliance. If you are there, if you're on the cloud, if you because the one need to know that technology has gone beyond on premises. Despite the fact that we still work on the on premises, but the future of work
Yeah.
is now in the cloud. So that's the premises I want to lay before I move into the cloud service. So for the cloud service, for this session, I'll be looking at, I've listed some of the basic operations that we can do, but because of the time limitation, I'll just limit myself. I know my colleague has taken note of the data ingestion. If you are talking about data ingestion, in medical science, when you're hearing ingestion, it means that you are bringing something into your body system. So we have borrowed that from the data analytics point of view, that okay, we want to bring data into a system for us to to do something about this. Okay, let me quickly go. Let me quickly share my screen. By sharing my screen, it will be more of my browser, because
Okay,
because
so just know that when you're sharing your screen, we just have few
yeah,
more minutes, maybe
yes, I'm aware.
about
Yeah, that should be enough for me.
13
We have about
minutes.
20 minutes,
Okay.
right? So that should be
No, no,
fine.
no, no. Not up to, because we also want to entertain questions.
Okay. All right,
All
let me
right.
quickly do that
Go
where I'm
ahead, please.
sharing my screen. Just a minute. All right, please confirm you can hear my stream, Mr. Jide.
Yes, I can hear your voice
What of my
and I
screen?
can see your screen. So I hope
All
that
right.
I believe everyone can see it also. So I can see your screen
Okay.
live and direct. Yes.
Now, the idea is that my colleague Adewale has given us a broad overview about this software. I mean, about this online platform, which is a Fabric. And from what we can see that it has been a build on what we know as as Power BI. So this is Power BI that we used to know and that we used to celebrate in the past. That, oh, this is the best we can have in the market. Until when we now have what we call fabrics at the moment. Now, if you look at here, you can see some of the operations that we can now see under fabrics. We have Power BI, we have Data Factory, we have Synapse Data Engineering, we have Data Science, we have Data Warehouse, we have Real-Time Analytics. But for the purpose of this training, we are going to Data Factory. We are navigating to Data Factory. Let me quickly refresh my browser. We are navigating to Data Factory. That is loading. Okay, perfect. So when you launch your Data Factory, um, there are two things that we see. Why is this asking me this? But our area that we are going to is what we know as what Power Query and Power Query. Now, the idea is that before you can work on any data, you have to bring data in. And I'm aware Mr. Adewale Yusuf has told us from different perspectives that we can bring in data. But for the purpose of this section, I will also bring my own data, which is in Excel format. I have two sources of data. Is in the cloud, and that's why I will be going to link to file. By the time you're having link to file, it means that I'm going to what OneDrive, browse OneDrive. I'm beginning data from OneDrive platform, and I'll also be bringing data in from the on-premises, which is my desktop. So the one I'll be bringing in from the online is known as what Superstore data. Superstore data. This one is now loading. Then I click on next. I click on next, and that should work in few minutes more. All right, so immediately I click on next. So it is asking me, I've discovered the data you want to work with, which is an Excel workbook. And the Excel workbook, it has only one sheet, which is known as what? Orders. So if I click on orders, I'll be having the details of the order. So this is a replica of what we see in Power BI when we are being taken to what? A navigator page. So if this is what I want, I click on create. From the create, it now takes time to load, and from there, uh because because I have to attach it to what platform am I having it. So as at now, I have brought it in. For those of us that we are familiar with that we are familiar with what we call it, Power Query. This is the interface of the Power Query, and these are a lot of menu of what we can do in Power Query. As at now, I have imported this. If for any reason I also need to do some transformation. Now, when you're talking about transformation, we are talking about changing your data set, your raw data set, to something that is more important to you. For instance, now maybe in my analytics that I want to do, I want to have an operation that will be more of what, that will be more of a, okay, all this data set is too much, but I just need this and this for analysis. For instance, now if you look at this at the below, we have information about what, the number of columns that we have. Altogether, we have the number of columns that we have 23 columns. But in my analytics, if I don't need all the 93, I mean all the 23 what do we call it, columns, I can work around it and say, okay, whether to keep some rows or to delete some rows. For instance, now one of the analytics that we can do at the moment is when we say, okay, for the purpose of this analytics, I don't need all the columns. Let me try to, that's what we call ADA, exploratory data analysis. I want to check what are the information that I have here. uh, I have information about product sales and this and that. For me, what I just need, this column I don't need for my analysis. I can just click that column, then I can come here, I can make use of the menu here, maybe to remove the column, right? I can come to here, remove the column, then I can come to here, remove the rows, and delete the columns.
I hope that your internet is fine, just to
My
be
internet,
sure. Okay, okay, go ahead, go ahead, go
I'm
ahead.
fine.
I
Yeah.
wasn't hearing you. All right.
Okay. So now I can as well. Maybe there's a need for me to, for instance, now I don't need all this column. I just need few column for my analytics. For instance, information about shipping, I don't need it. I just select this, or not that. What I need, just let me select what I need. I need information about segment, that is customer segment. Then I also need information about the product, and information about the product. Under products, I need product category, I need product subcategory. I also need information about the sales. I need information about sales, I need quantity, I need discount, and I need profit. So now that I've selected the one that I need, I do right click and I do what? Remove. Not, I will not select remove columns because those are the ones that I need. I can say remove other columns, remove other columns. So because all other columns are not important for me for my analysis, so what I need for my analysis is I need information about the customer segment, I need information about product category, I need information about product subcategory, I need information about sales, quantity, discount, and what, and profit. So that's number one thing that I've also done. Then for your information, this order that I have taken it in, if there's any need for me to change the file name, I can change it from here, and I call it maybe my data set. I just call it data set. Data set. After that, I click enter. You will observe that from the query, I now have what? I now have a data set. So that is number one. Then, if I'm also thinking that I need to bring some other data in, maybe this time around it is not the data is not um on the cloud. The data is located please close the data flow before navigating with. All right, so it means that I have to publish. That is the implication that, okay, what I'm working on, I have to publish. And the idea is that I just did an operation where I did what? Where I just did what? I just remove other columns from my operation because they are not necessary for me for the analysis that I want to use it for. So as at now, the one that is being saved under what? Under data flow 3. Under data flow 3. And there are a lot of operations that we can do on these data sets that we are talking on. So this one is being published. Let us wait for it. So it has published. Fine. So let me now refresh my page so that I can have updated data. I can have an updated data. All right. Perfect. Now, apart from that, I can as well do what we call schedule refresh. I can as well do schedule refresh. Oh, it is not refresh history. Refresh history is about if I want to see what has happened in the past. Uh, I'm not sure why it is not loading. Schedule refresh is not active. Is it because it's a trial fashion? Because this my own is a trial fashion. Maybe I will check that out. Then I've uploaded that data flow. We call it data flow. Maybe for instance, now I have something. Mr. Jide, you have something?
No, no, go ahead. I wanted to, but you've so go ahead. You're fine. Go ahead.
Okay, okay. So now I have imported one data. If I want to import another data, which is not from the cloud, the one I imported now, just now, was from the cloud. But this one, I want to import my data from the on-premises. And how do I go about that? Which is will now be known as what? Data flow 4. I click on import because it is in the Excel format. I click on that, and then from there I connect to data source, which is on the my laptop on premises. This is loading. All right, so the other one I went through the link to the file, but this time around on the desktop. So it's either I wait for that, or I just come to the desktop, I drag it in, or I drag it in. All right, so it has worked. So now it's asking me browse to the location. The location is on the desktop, and then from the desktop we have what we known as what? I'm looking for data cleaning. I'm looking for data cleaning. That's the file name. Because from the data cleaning, I want to generate some scenarios on some of the transformations that we can do on our data set. Okay, this is successful, right? I click on next. From next, it will now display the kind of data that I have for transformation. All right, so I have a populated different different sheets that are suggested what I have. I have advanced splits. I
Just a
have
moment, Mr. Popola. Well done, sir.
yes,
You
yeah,
have 2 minutes. 2 minutes to round up,
2 minutes
so that
more.
we
Okay,
can,
okay.
yeah, so that we can entertain questions.
All right, so now,
Thank you.
if you are talking about data transformation, there are a lot of operations that we can perform, like the kind of on-pivot. We can pivot data, we can on-pivot data, we can transport data. When you're talking of transport data, maybe that is arranged in rows, you are not changing to column, or data that is arranged in column, you are changing it into row. You can do what we call split and match. Split and match. You can divide data into the way you want to have it, and at the end of the day you can also match it. You can have what we call replace value. For replace value, maybe there is an entry that you have from your data entry. That's what we have. Maybe something you just want to change something. That is what we call replace values. There is an advanced level of replace value that we call combo, split combo. We have NOS. Sometimes sometimes people mistake empty rows as what? As null. They are not the same. When you're talking about the null, when you're talking about, people replace nulls with zero. It is not. It is not. When you have null value, it is what we call an empty. But when you have a column that we have zero, zero is a value. So we cannot equate empty rows with what? With with rows. Maybe, for instance, let us do this in maybe in 1 minute. Maybe one of the transformation we want to do is to look for the null value. To look for the null value. Can you imagine we have in this data set, we have a lot of null values. Now, if we have null values, how do we remove it? It's one of the basic. It's unfortunate we don't have so much time. We could have gone through a lot of transformation, but let's just quickly see this null value. How do we remove null value from our data set? All right. So from here, I select my data set. And I select my data set. There I right click. There I look for remove. No, not this one. Can I see? So all these ones are the operations that we can do, are the transformations that we can do. I'm looking for null values.
Oh, what do
Uh,
you want to remove the null values, right? I guess.
yes, the null value. Yes.
Or maybe you want to use the drop down filter on that column. I wouldn't know if that's
Okay,
what
the
you're
drop
referring
down. Yeah, you are correct. That can work too. I have to select all, right? I select all, but anywhere you see no value, please just remove it. Can you see that? The operation is ongoing, that my data set, we don't have what? We don't have no values. So, but there could be a lot of operations that we can do, as I did mention, that we have on our data set. So, because of the time constraint, this is where I will be stopping for now, so that we can accommodate questions. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for being with us. Please, if there are questions, I would want us to drop our questions. So while we're waiting for our questions to be dropped, please, the next session, meaning the next Saturday, I would be sharing my screen so that we can see this. Mr. Popola, I hope you are still there, just to be sure.
Yes, I'm here.
So
Yes.
you can stop sharing so that
Okay.
our audience can see the next
Okay.
event.
Okay.
Please, we have
Okay.
dropped feedback form. It's very important you help us fill those feedback. We are starting a series, which is, of course, starting today. And the subsequent one will happen next Saturday. And we need you to, oh, just a moment, not this one. I'll share another one. So we need feedback so that at least we would know what we need to do better. And please, so help us the feedback form. The event will be happening next Saturday. Just a moment. People in the studio, you want to, okay, just let me use this other one. Just a moment, please. Let me remove this one. Good. So you can help me.
Yeah.
This one will be happening on the 1st of July, which is Saturday. And that is where we will have some of our
Uh,
speakers come up and
Mr. Jide,
yes, please.
can you take it again? Your internet went off.
Oh, so sorry. All
Yes.
right. So
Yeah.
the next engagement or the next event will be happening next Saturday, which is 1st of July.
Yeah.
Okay. I think my screen is back. So sorry about that.
No problem.
Just a moment. So
No problem.
please, I'm still waiting for people to react to the feedback form, please. So the next one will be coming on next Saturday. Please let us endeavor to join. Same time next Saturday. If there are questions, let us drop those questions. Mr. Kokola is here to answer our questions. I'm also here to answer our questions. So please, our audience, if you need clarifications, you are free to ask us. But the time is now that we're about to leave. But before we leave, if you have questions, we want to take those questions, please. So, Mr. Popola, now that you've been exploring fabric, um, uh, what do you think? It's seamless, right? Mr. Akokola, I hope you're there. Your internet, because I seem to be fine from my end. Okay. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining today. We will draw up the curtain here. People at the back end, this is not the slide. There's another one that I uploaded because this does not have the intended. So there is one, maybe you didn't see that. So once again, we appreciate your time, everyone. Thank you for being here. Same time next Saturday. Let's have you. Bye for now. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye.